don't wait until you're 80 to create experiences. But the point I was gonna make with that, one of the things he talks about, he's like, it's important to think about getting the order right of your life. Like cruising, I could do that when I'm 90 and I can't walk. But right now, I'm young. I want to go hike mountains. I want to do shit that's more active because this is the time of my life where it's going to be harder to do in, probably 70, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. So you need to think about when it comes to travel experiences and what's on your bucket list. Don't wait until you're 60 to start thinking I'm going to climb Kilimanjaro. Like that needs to happen in your 20s or 30s or maybe 40s for most people. That's why I call it experiential wealth. It's like having financial wealth, but in experiences, like living a rich life in experiences. And to me, when you think about points in travel, what it actually is, it's the ability to create amazing memories with the people you love and look back over your life and be like, man, I made a lot of money, but I also don't have regrets about these relationships and these experiences. And that to me is like fulfillment. So that's a big motive for me.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, I got a good friend of mine in town and a repeat guest, someone who helps you turn points into your dream travel and luxury lifestyle. I got my man, Eli Facenda, the travel guy. What's up, Eli?
What's up, Rich? Good to be here again, man.
Dude, I know, man. It's been a little bit, bro. 13 countries you've been traveling to in the last 7 months, bro.
Yeah,
it's insane, dude.
Yeah, been on a little bit of a travel tear. It's been fun.
Yeah, that's amazing, dude. And so much to dive into here. I want to provide as much value to listeners as possible. But first things first, man. You just told me before we started recording, news just broke 2 hours ago about a new way that you can actually gain points to apply to your mortgages for real estate through credit cards. Talk about that.
This is huge. This literally broke today. So Built Rewards, they're a platform that has a credit card, but they also have a rewards ecosystem.
Okay.
Just announced that in 2026, you'll be able to earn points on mortgages. This has never happened before. It's a brand new thing. There's not a lot of details out yet, but it's going to enable you to essentially pay for your home or potentially, I don't know about investments yet, we'll see, and earn points for that. So that's a big game changer because that's most people's biggest expense. And especially if you're an investor, if they open up that ability to earn points on multiple homes, that's going to be a complete game changer for people to get way more free travel and epic life experiences from just paying for mortgages. So it's pretty killer.
I know currently Built will allow you to earn points on rent.
Yes.
I know with, I currently rent where I live. I'm a big fan of renting where you live. I live downtown. I never want to own a high-rise condo downtown. Probably the worst real estate investment you can invest in. Well, I do love living downtown. I can walk to the office. But anyways, so through my portal where I pay rent, I know Built has the reward system and you can earn points there, which is kind of cool. But you're saying now you can now earn points through mortgages.
Yeah, exactly.
Insane.
That's going to start soon. And the move with rent is amazing too. That was a huge first step for that program to allow renters to earn points. And you can earn points on rent even if you don't live in an apartment. That's a big misconception that a lot of people don't know is that
what do you mean by that?
Like if you rent a home and you have a landlord,
Yes.
you can actually pay with the Built card through the Built portal, pay your landlord and still earn points from that too. You don't just have to be in a building. That's a part of what they call the Built Alliance. So there's basically an option for almost anyone in the States to earn points from rent. But if they double dip that into mortgages, like you're saying here, this is going to be just like gangbusters for everybody.
So could I earn Built points for paying rent for our office space? Because we pay our landlord, right?
I don't know about commercial leases. I know it's residential. I think it's more residential because the way that's their big positioning is they want to change the way that the renting and home buying process works. So I think that's more where their focus is. I don't think it's going to be for commercial. And at this point, like today, you can't do that. In the future, we'll see what they end up doing. This program is going to kill it. These guys that are leading it, it's Naveen Jain created this company, Viome. It's his son, it's already like a billionaire family, who's the CEO of this company, and they're really changing the game. So from a loyalty perspective and what's going to be possible for people, this company is going to absolutely crush.
Yeah, that's huge right there. I'm curious, just out of curiosity, you mentioned that you can also earn points for payroll and things of that nature. Talk about that as a business owner.
This is huge. So when people realize that you can literally put payroll or rent or inventory or literally anything in your business on a card and earn points, and not just points, but tax-free points, it's an absolute game changer. So the way you have to do it, you have to use a third-party merchant processor. There's a couple out there that are good for this, depending on if you have a team, if they're domestic, overseas, there's TransferWise, there's PayPal, there's things like that. There's one called Zelle Money, and then the most common one's called Plastique, which is Plastiq. And what's going to happen is they're going to charge you a 2.9% fee. So a lot of people immediately off the bat, they're like, well, I don't want a fee, right? And that would make sense until you do the math. But the math says, if you pay that 2.9% fee and you earn the right points with the right card and use them well, you're going to get between 6 to up to 10% back. That's a 3 to 7% savings on all payroll, all inventory if you have a business like that, all potential mortgages. So that's really the key piece. You have to have the right card and then you have to use the points strategically. And if you do that, putting your payroll on a card, putting your rent on a card, putting mortgages on a card, even through that platform is a total game changer.
And what are the best cards for that?
So the best one today is called the Capital One Venture X for Business. And the reason for that is most cards give you 1 point per dollar on what they call non-category expenses. So, right, these credit card programs have like 3x on ads or 4x on dining or 5x on travel. But what do you get when you go buy something from Amazon or CVS or, you know, a non-bonus category purchase? You usually just get 1 point per dollar. But the Capital One Venture X for Business gives you 2 points per dollar or 2 points per dollar with no cap. So a lot of these other cards that have bonus multipliers, they have a cap where it's like, hey, you can get this multiple on the first 100,000 you spend. But with that card, it's unlimited, which is amazing because it kind of functions even like a charge card like the Amex Platinum does, where you can scale the spend up really high over time with that and earn an unlimited 2x. So that's definitely the card you want. But you still need to use the points well. Otherwise, even if you get 2 points per dollar with a 3% fee, you'd still be losing 1%. So there is a little math involved in how you use those points. And that's going to be the game changer to make sure it's a break even or a positive ROI for you.
The only downside I would say about the Capital One business cards is I believe it's the only business credit card out there that actually reports to your personal credit profile. Is that right?
Some of them do. Not all the Capital One cards do. From what I understand, the Capital One Venture X for Business does not.
Does not. Okay.
Does not. Yeah, but some cards.
We have one. We have one business credit card with Capital One, and it reports to my personal credit. I'm like, I didn't know that until I got it. It's a Spark, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the Venture X for Business is different.
It's different.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But that's a good catch because a lot of people miss that stuff when they're getting business credit cards and they're doing stuff like you've had Jack McCullough who does 0% funding. And you do that, and if you do that with a business card that reports your personal, kind of mitigates the benefit, right? Because it shows up on your credit report. So that's a good point.
So two cards that we've had for quite some time, and I love these cards. These are probably the ones that we use the most, just with all the operations. And one of our businesses, property management. So we just always have vendors and housekeeping and all this stuff, supplies going on these business cards. Is the Amex Business Platinum, and then we use the Business Amex Gold. And so for us, we use them, and then every year I have all these points accumulate, and I got to get with you at some point and figure out like what is the best way for me to use these points, because I don't know all the little ins and outs that and Jack McCall knows, but it was good. Like last year, for example, did a round trip flight to down to Australia, a 2-week trip down there, flew business class on Qantas Air round trip, and everything was covered by those points. But to my knowledge, and Jack did mention this, he's like, dude, you probably could have got 3 to 4x like what you actually got if I knew where to transfer to the right portals and all that. So I'm gonna have to touch base with you, at some point. But just for someone listening, if they wanted to know, okay, what's the best strategy or platform for them to like know where to transfer points to? Is there like a software out there they can use or a service? What do you recommend for those folks?
There are some tools, which I'm happy to share what those are. But the key thing to understand, firstly, is that there's no one-size-fits-all solution, which can be very frustrating for people when they first hear that because they're like, oh, I was just looking for like the one thing. But it completely depends on where you're flying, what region you're flying to or from. For example, if you're flying from the US to Europe in certain business class flights, one airline might be the best if you're flying from the East Coast and another from the West Coast because of the way that these airlines price very differently. So it can really vary a lot. But in order to find the best deal, so firstly, you kind of touched on it, you definitely want to be transferring these points from the bank and credit card programs into the airline or potentially hotel loyalty programs. That's what we call points arbitrage. So points arbitrage is when the bank will charge based on the price of the ticket, and the airline program will charge based off of what they call an award chart, which is really the distance between two countries or the regions they're in. So that's what the arbitrage is. And so for your example, we've helped hundreds of clients go to Australia on points. Commonly, you'll see maybe $10,000 as a business class round trip ticket from the US to Australia. If you go directly to Amex Travel, they give you 1 cent for each point. That's the key metric. So that's 1 million points. But if you transfer them and you do it well, you'll find that for maybe 150, 200,000, maybe 250,000 points. So that's about 75% to 80% less than what you would pay to Amex. So it's a huge, which is the other way of saying it is like basically 3 to 4x.
Yeah.
So that's what you want to do. Now, as far as tools go, there's a bunch, and it depends on the kind of trip you're looking for. There's Point.me, which is not as good for big international trips. It's better for quick domestic trips, things like that. There's one called Roam Travel, which can be good in certain situations. Seats.aero can be a really good one. There's another one, Points. Yeah. There's also one called Expert Flyer for finding seats. So there's even more than that. There's Max My Point for hotels. So it just depends on what trip you have. how big it is, how small it is, which is going to kind of be the right tool to use at the right time. There's not really a one size fits all solution for that. You still kind of have to know, even within that, certain of tools don't pull in all the airline data. So like our team, we have like a concierge team. So like when we're doing like trip planning for a client, we'll know, okay, we search on this tool, but these 2 airlines aren't going to show there. So we need to check these manually here. And half the time we might find the deal manually that wasn't showing over here. And so people sometimes just don't know what they don't know. And that's the downside of just relying on the tools, but they are a big lift if you're doing nothing.
Yeah. So speaking of the Amex Platinum, what are some of the major changes of recent?
Yeah, huge changes with the Amex Platinum right now. Both the personal Platinum and the business Platinum just increased their fees to $895 per year, which is really steep for a lot of people. But if you use these well, it's so valuable. And I'll give you an example, right? So last December, I created this surprise trip for my fiance, well now fiance, but then girlfriend, to go propose in Europe. And I was like in Austin, Texas, where I was living. And I was like, all right, I want to propose to this girl. I want to take her to Europe, but like, I don't want to pay 50 grand for a first class trip. Let's do the points thing. Let's look it up. I ended up getting a $50,000 trip for about $2,500 out of pocket. So it was a crazy experience. And the first hotel we stayed in was in Lucerne, Switzerland. It's this unbelievably beautiful, like small Swiss lake town. And have you been to Switzerland?
No, I want to go.
You're gonna love it. But it's expensive as hell.
It's
so expensive, dude. I mean, yeah, it's really pricey, but it's nice. But the hotel we were in,
the 2 most expensive places I've ever been.
Yeah.
2 areas. Mykonos in the summertime.
Yes.
I mean, Mykonos in the summertime, you get like just a mediocre 3-star hotel is going to run you $1,500 a night.
I know. Yeah.
And then the second most expensive place I've been to, I'll probably have to say Australia. Australia, like Bondi Beach, some of these areas are not cheap, like in their season.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Oh man, I'll tell you some of the points hacks for some expensive places in a minute. But the point, so for that story, right? So when I was planning this, I was looking for different hotels and I found this really cool hotel. It's called the Schweizerhof Hotel. It's right on Lake Lucerne. It's like beautiful crystal blue lake. You have the snow-capped mountains. It's stunning. And the benefit of the Amex Platinum, one of them is the Fine Hotels and Resorts perk. So I used that perk and I got upgraded to a suite. And there's specific ways to ask for suite upgrades that will get you much better suite upgrades, much more impactful. And that's where the savings is. But that upgrade was $3,000 in value per night. So that was $6,000 in value on one trip, on one weekend from one benefit from that card. So yes, there's some big fee increases, but if you use these perks, there's going to be some huge returns for you. You just have to actually use them. And there's other credits. They have a bunch on there. Most people don't use any of them. And one of the tools I'll actually tell you, if you want to track the perks of your card and keep it organized and simple, Card Pointers is the app. So the app will sync all of your cards into one app and load all the benefits you have. Like, okay, you have this airline credit here, this Uber credit there, this hotel credit there, this airline credit here. And it will help you make sure that you're using these things so you're not just paying annual fees and not getting the return. Because every single card that has an annual fee, if you use, honestly, even like half the perks, you're getting at least a 2 to 3x ROI on that fee. So it's a good investment if you use them.
Say the name of this website again.
So Card Pointers is that app that will sync all of your card benefits.
Card Pointers, okay.
Card Pointers, yeah, into one place and give you all the benefits of those cards in one spot. You literally just be like, oh, did I use the airline fee? Yep, check. And then it's like checked off. So you know, okay, I'm good for the year. Because some of these things, right, like they're every 6 months, they have the benefits. So you can't redeem them all like once per year even. You have to use like with Dell, with the Amex Business Platinum, Dell gives you $400 in credits, which is pretty good because that's half the fee, but it's $200 every 6 months.
Got it.
So if you want to buy like tech for your, some gear or whatever for your company, it's $200 between January to June and then $200 from July to December. So you can't just do a $400 transaction. So that's good. That app is good for keeping those things organized. So you can just see it. Usually, like for us, this is something we tell people to hand off to their assistant because it's much easier for them to track than you. You don't have bandwidth for that, right? So you have a team member handle that.
Yeah. Okay. That's really, really good. So with the travel, like with that app, will also tell me like at the end of the year, this is how many points you have, and then this is like the best method to go use them, or that's going to be something different.
No, that's a different app. So there's Card Pointers is more for the card benefits you have and like which card to use in certain situations. It will kind of show you that too. It's not for how to use the points or redeem them. That's a whole other piece.
Got it. Yeah. So this year, I try to go to the Southern Hemisphere. So we always, take a couple weeks off out of the office end of the year between Christmas, and then we'll come back to the office typically right after New Year's. Everything is shuts down in commercial real estate. Lenders are not working. Brokers are not working. And so there's no reason we need to be in the office. And so it's a nice little break, 2.5 weeks. And so I'll typically travel to the Southern Hemisphere where it's warm. So 2 years ago I did Argentina.
Nice.
Yep. And
Nice.
then last year I did Australia.
Cool.
This year I want to do South Africa.
Cool.
And go to like Cape Town, and then I want to do like some sort of like maybe 5-day safari tour
Great
during
idea.
the middle of it.
Yep.
I've never done a safari. It looks dope, and I would love to do something like that this year. So I'm going to be looking to use the points for that.
We will help you out with that. I've done both a safari. I did like a mini one, but I also did gorilla trekking in Uganda.
Really? Damn.
And that was, dude, seeing gorillas like 10 feet from you in the wild
Insane.
is an insane experience.
Yeah,
So,
insane.
Yeah.
So one thing I notice when I travel with these different airlines, domestic versus international, is when you go at international, like the service, the quality of everything that you get from the food, the drinks, the quality of service, everything is like way better. It's way more enhanced internationally. Why do you think that is?
I think that the international market overall is a little bit more competitive for these international routes. I think that's probably one thing. Like if you think of the Middle East, right? Part of the airline experience is almost a flex for the country. Like you think about Qatar's competing with Emirates, and then Emirates is competing with Etihad. So these airlines are kind of in a little bit of like a who's got the flashiest, best service and best experience. I think there's an element of that. But beyond that, I think it's mostly like a cultural thing. There might be some hiring things that they do with some of the staff we were talking about.
Yeah.
That could be a factor. But it is a noticeable difference because even the best US-based airlines, like the best first class and the best US airline doesn't even come close to like the 5th best first class from these international carriers. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And who knows? I mean, maybe it's like you mentioned it's more competitive overseas, but from a price standpoint, it might be more competitive here domestically.
That's what I think.
Because
yeah,
think about most of these countries like Ireland, they got one airline, right? You're talking about some of these Australia, they got one airline. Here in the U.S., we got a lot: United, Delta, Southwest, American, just to name a few.
Yeah, right.
And so now they're all competing with each other. JetBlue is another one, Allegiant, Frontier, and so they're all competing with each other on price. And so maybe that's a factor of it. And so they maybe over the years they started cutting certain things like, hey, we're not going to do meals on certain flights. We're going to cut like fancy breakfasts. We're not going to do caviar.
Yeah,
Maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm speculating. I'm always one to be wrong.
right.
But also, the seats seem to be more comfortable with the international ones. But one thing I will say is this, and I know this is a fact. I used to do air traffic control for a while, but air traffic control was unionized, and the flight attendants here are unionized as well. And so if you look at the airlines, these international airlines will have typically a lot of females, all female staff, all the stewardesses, all the flight attendants will be all females, typically between the ages of 20 and 25. You don't see any stewardesses with some of these airlines over 30 because they age out. But here in the U.S., if you look at American, Delta, United, Southwest, you will see younger flight attendants, but you also will see flight attendants that are in their 60s. And some of these flight attendants are in their 70s here because it's unionized. And I think from a labor law, they're protected here in the States. And so that's one difference you'll see. And it's funny because here in San Diego, living here, you go to some of these local hotels, the Intercontinental Hotel, for example, the British Airways will put their cruise there. And then also Japan Airlines will put their cruise there. And so just hanging out in the hotel like lobby, not in the lobby, but hanging out in the hotel bar over there, you'll see the crews come in and out. Japan Airline and British Airways, it's like 23, 24 like young girls just like lined up. And then the U.S. airlines, it's not like that. So that's a huge discrepancy there.
Yeah,
It's crazy,
one.
right?
No, I realized that too. The first couple times I started flying Emirates, it was like I got on the flight and I was like a 24-year-old single dude. I was like, what? This is not what flying in the U.S. is like. And then I went to Miami, same thing you're saying. The Cadillac Hotel actually on South Beach.
Yeah,
it's right in Mid Beach. It's a Marriott property. You can use points there and all that. I remember going there and it was like I think like half the Emirates crew because they have a lot of flights out of Miami. Was staying there too, and I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, this looks a little different than the standard like JetBlue staff.
Yep.
Nothing against them, but yeah, it's just a little different. Yeah.
And I'd be curious to see, maybe Oscar, you can look this up for us. I'd be curious, like, at what year did the U.S. The domestic airlines start forming their union for the flight attendants? Because I think at some point, like decades and decades ago, it wasn't the case. But now it's like, I mean, you'll see flight attendants on some of these like American flights that like. They can barely walk. They can barely bend over. I'm like, dude, they're a little bit too old to be working. It doesn't look safe. But then internationally, like, I feel like they have an age out at like 25 years old.
Right. Yeah. Well, what's wild too, I mean, the airline industry is so unbelievably cutthroat and competitive and like razor thin margins, if at all. In fact,
a lot of them lose money.
A lot of them lose money. And they make more money on their loyalty programs than they do from selling seats.
What do you now? Give me an example. When you say they make more money in the loyalty program, how do they make money on
So
that?
yeah, a lot of airlines are making more money from credit card fees, the way they do the banking relationships, the like lounge access, all the membership benefits, things like that,
Got it.
than they get from selling seats. So if you're on a flight, right, they are like hawking cards at you, which is usually always a terrible card option. So I would highly recommend against.
Don't do that.
Do not get an in-flight
I
credit
always
card.
wondered, like, who are the people signing up for those cards that, like, they're just yelling on the intercom, "Hey, sign up for this American card. We're gonna give you $200 in credits."
You know, I think there's
Do
probably
people actually get their thing out and sign up?
There's got to be, because I mean they obviously do it, but it's free marketing, right? They're already there, so you have a captive audience. It's like clearly they're travelers. But I mean, this actually shocked me. I think it's something like 80% of the world has never been on an airplane.
Damn.
Like a lot of the world has never been on an
No,
airplane.
I don't believe that.
It's crazy. You can look
80%,
up.
80% of the world has never been on an airplane.
Something like that. Yeah.
What do you think it is in America?
It's probably got to be still like probably like 40% or so.
Damn,
I'd
that's
imagine.
crazy.
But point is, I think we travel a lot, right? We're business owners. We're doing a lot of events and things. So we're kind of just used to it. But I think there are a good chunk of people who are like on their first flight, second flight, maybe they travel once a year. So they're not thinking about this stuff. And when they get on a flight and they're like, sign up for this card and you can fly to Hawaii for free, they're like, oh my God, I never thought of that. So I'm sure there's a percentage of people. I did it actually when I was like 23, when I was
There you go. You're
very
one of
new
them.
to this. I was
Yeah.
like, wait,
I get that.
yeah, I was like, this is crazy. You're telling me I could get this card, and I was just learning about points. I was like, I could fly to Europe and round trip and economy for free. And I was like, that'd be amazing. So I didn't know much. I made so many mistakes when I was young starting out with this stuff. It's complicated. It's nuanced. There's a lot of different cards and programs and all this stuff, but that's part of their model.
And when you say it doesn't make sense, typically, like, that resonates with me, because the way I look at these reward programs is, well, if I'm going to be with United, but then the reality is there's 6, 7 different airlines here in the U.S. For me, I'm always going to take the flight that has the direct. So which airline has the direct flight based on where I'm going, right? And typically out of San Diego's not, it's not LAX, it's not Dallas Fort Worth, that's not a major airport. Out of San Diego, there's typically only going to be one airline that has the direct flight to wherever I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's just say San Diego to Miami. There's only one airline that goes nonstop, and that's American. So if I have United points and all that, I don't want to be tied to taking United and having connections when I could just get on the nonstop to be American.
Yep,
you know?
exactly. That's so like for us, right? So we worked with a couple thousand clients on this, and we have a 3-step system that we always walk people through. The first one we call it the double your points method, and that's about getting not just more points, but the right ones. And that's the most important piece, because think about it, right? These points are all like currencies. And so if I were to invest with you and you're like, hey, the deal is $1 million, $1 million, whatever. And I was like, okay, can I pay in pesos? You'd be like, no, it's dollars, right? But there's a clear difference between dollars and pesos. But in the points world, people don't realize there's a huge difference between Hilton points and Amex points and Delta miles and Alaska miles. Those are all worth different things. And so when you think about what you want to spend on and what airline you want to be loyal to, it will make a massive difference in terms of the benefits you get, the upgrades you get, and just overall how much value and free travel you're getting back by picking the right programs and cards. So like when you're flying like that and you're not flying one airline consistently, this is why I tell so many people that going for elite status, unless you're in a certain percentage of people, is a huge waste. Elite status on airlines is super overrated for most people. Certain people, I know you've had Pace More Beyond, he talks about Concierge Key. That could be a different section because the volume of travel, the spend is there, the benefits that are going to be utilized, but for most people, it's not. And it's how they, again, gamify the system to make money long-term is by creating a really good loyalty system that most people lose at and they win. So that's kind of what you need to know about airline loyalty systems too.
What is American Airlines Concierge Key?
So Concierge Key, there's other ones too. There's like United Global Services and other airlines kind of have these like higher end, invitation only, private VIP level elite status. And you have to be invited in. Usually you have to travel a ton or spend a ton on a co-branded card with them, and or be like kind of celebrity-like status where like you get to board privately. Oftentimes you get like a private chauffeur. You obviously get lounge access. You get different benefits, companion passes sometimes. So there's different levels for different programs, but they're essentially for like the super elite travelers. The thing is, for the vast majority of people, it's not worth it because the opportunity cost of what it takes in terms of the points you could be earning, the value you could be earning with other cards, you're just not getting as much if you're dedicating all of your spend to generally like an American Airlines card. The exception to that would be someone that lives in maybe an American hub like Miami or Dallas or Phoenix.
Yeah, where you go nonstop anywhere in the world, basically.
They're only on American. It's nonstop pretty much everywhere. And they're traveling like 2, 3, maybe 4 times a month on that airline, because then you're getting enough volume where the benefits actually make sense. Beyond that,
and you won't have the need to take other airlines.
You don't have to fly other airlines, exactly. Yeah. Right. But beyond that, it's kind of just a flex, right? But for example, with like Delta, Delta's points in the miles world, we call them sky pesos because they're worth shit.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Sky
So
pesos.
if you want to
that's
fly
funny.
to Delta fly Delta to Europe in business class for Atlanta, Delta One, which is their kind of first class, is oftentimes like 300,000 or 500,000 points, whereas you might be able to fly Air France for 60,000 points on the same route. So it's a huge difference. So if you're flying Delta a lot and you live in a Delta hub, you're like, well, I'll just use the Delta card and Delta miles. Meanwhile, you're getting like 80% less value than you could or should by using other cards. You see what I'm saying? So these small things make a huge difference in terms of your total returns.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Out of curiosity, what is the best airline to join the Mile High Club?
The best airline to join the Mile High Club is definitely going to be Emirates, for sure. Now, the reason being is they have the first class with the in-flight bar. You get like your private suite, champagne, caviar, but they actually have the shower on board too. And what's hilarious is when you go up to it, it says max occupancy 2.
So they encourage it.
So I don't know what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But they definitely want some Emirates babies. I don't know if they get citizenship if they're conceived there or not. But that would definitely be the Mile High Club move. The other one would be the Etihad residences because you have your own suite, you have your own private bathroom with a shower, and then your own bedroom, a separate bedroom. It's like truly flying private in a commercial aircraft. So those would be the two for that.
Yeah. And what is it like taking a shower in the sky?
You fly to Europe or you're flying to the Middle East. You're on a 9, 10, 12-hour flight. You're eating caviar, drinking champagne. And then you have a flight attendant walk up to you and say, sir, would you like to shower at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m.? It's just, first off, the feeling is just like, this is insane. Like, it's amazing. And for me, when I start to think about the fact that like commercial flying has only been around for maybe like 100 years, like the fact that you can shower on a plane on a flight that you didn't even pay for. I'm like, we live in a world that is like better than the dreams of like pretty much anyone for all of human history. It's so cool we get to do that. But it also does give you, I mean, I've done it a couple times, and every time I land after I've showered on a flight, I'm like, yep, I feel way more refreshed and way more ready to go. They got the pajamas, the whole experience is really, really cool.
Yeah. I've never showered on a plane, but I can imagine it feels like refreshing. When I'm out on the boat, for example, for extended periods of time and doing crossings, like you feel like salty, right? And just like you just need to refresh.
Yeah.
And just taking a quick shower, like it just resets you. You feel good.
Totally.
Which airline has the best caviar?
Dude, the best caviar on an airline, in my opinion, also Emirates. They're probably my favorite overall airline.
Okay, so they're number one.
They're number one for me. But the reason that they have the best caviar isn't just like, it's not the quality, it's the portions. Dude, they serve you just like plates full of this unlimited amounts of just huge, like there's been some flights when I totaled up how much caviar and champagne I had. I'm like, I just took them down for like $2,000, I think. It's crazy of what they do, but their service is impeccable. The flight attendants encourage it too. Like they really like you to get the most out of the experience. And so right away at takeoff, I order one. Sometimes I don't even order like a full meal. I'll just get like 4 rounds of caviar and and just keep it going because I really enjoy it. So
damn. What about the best champagne? Would you say it's Emirates as well?
Singapore Airlines tends to have some of the best drinks, and some of the Japanese carriers, if you want to go outside the champagne too, ANA, Japan Airlines, they'll have like really nice Japanese whiskey, $600 bottles, things like that. But Singapore Airlines is really good. They have a lot of Krug. They have some different Dom Perignon, some other nice, really good caviar or champagnes as well. So I'd say Singapore is probably the top for overall alcohol champagne service.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I want to switch gears here a little bit and talk about the new Ritz-Carlton yacht cruise ship. I see a lot of people on social media going and taking this cruise.
Yeah.
What is the Ritz-Carlton new cruise ship? What is that all about?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these really premier brands and hotels are getting into cruising, right? Four Seasons is coming out with the cruise line. Ritz has them. But they're not the big traditional cruises like Carnival or MSC or, these mega yachts where it's like 6,000 people. These are like, I think there's like 200 rooms on them. They're smaller, but they're really, really nice. And the fact that these are becoming co-branded with the hotel loyalty programs is amazing because that means you can earn points, you can use the benefits and things like that. And it also just, the biggest thing though, to me, is there's a standard. You think Ritz, you think Four Seasons, it's nice, right? You think like Carnival, MSC, some of these other cruises, you're just not really sure. So it's definitely a premium cruising experience. But they're starting to open up more all around the world. They have some in Europe. My buddy actually chartered one, and they sailed across the Atlantic for 11 days with like 200 entrepreneurs, investors, and philanthropists last year. They sailed from, I think, Portugal to maybe New York or something and it was an 11-day sail on the Ritz-Carlton yacht. So they're popping up. They're doing more, and I think it's just an amazing way to see parts of the world and have a really good experience. But knowing that it's not going to be some like super crowded kind of lower quality experience like you'll get on a lot of cruises. So
Yeah,
it's
my
different.
whole thing with a cruise ship is like, I think it's cool for the experience, or like if you're with the right people and in the right room, it makes sense. But I think if you're gonna go travel to like actually soak in the culture and actually really sightsee like a new city or destination, I feel like, getting off the ship for 6 hours and then you're gone, you don't really get to even have dinner in the local city. It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I agree.
But I think if you got a family, you got kids, and there's a lot of cool activities for the kids, and you just want to like get out in the sun and like cruise, I think it's a good option. But for actually like really sightseeing and like really soaking in the culture somewhere,
Totally.
not my favorite option.
I agree. Have you read the book Die With Zero?
No.
So it's this amazing book by a guy named Bill Perkins. I'll kind of give the summary, but basically what he talks about, he's like, over your lifetime, he's talking to entrepreneurs and investors, people that are probably listening to this. Highly recommend the book. He talks about over your lifetime, the vast majority of people, their wealth and income is going to go up and to the right. They're going to have more money over time. But their ability to use their money for life experiences that they're actually going to enjoy and create fulfillment goes down. Your time goes down, your energy, your mobility, your ability to like create the memories with certain people die. Right? I just had a friend who passed away last week, and like he's at 52.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
it's
it
scary,
happens,
bro.
and it's terrible.
Yeah. Time is the only asset we have where we don't know how much is left.
Totally. And so it's like, don't wait until you're 80 to create experiences. But the point I was gonna make with that, one of the things he talks about, he's like, it's important to think about getting the order right of your life. Like cruising, I could do that when I'm 90 and I can't walk, right? Just stick me on a cruise ship and I'll sail around Europe. It'll be epic. But right now I'm young. I want to go hike mountains. I want to do shit that's more active, because this is the time in my life where it's gonna be harder to do in, probably 70, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. So you need to think about, when it comes to travel experiences and what's on your bucket list, don't wait until you're 60 to start thinking I'm going to climb Kilimanjaro. Like that needs to happen in your 20s or 30s or maybe 40s for most people. And that's what this book is about. And I thought that was really powerful. That's why I call it experiential wealth. It's like having financial wealth, but in experiences, like living a rich life in experiences. And to me, when you think about points in travel, what it actually is, it's the ability to create amazing memories with the people you love and look back over your life and be like, man, I made a lot of money, but I also don't have regrets about these relationships and these experiences. And that to me is like fulfillment. So that's a big motive for me.
So you've had a lot of experiences all over the world.
Yeah.
What's one experience, if you could recommend to the listeners right now, that you're like, this is my number one experience, and you hands down have to do this at some point?
So I'll tell you a little story about this one. It's March of this year, and I am wearing a hilariously like gorilla looking costume with a Japanese baseball jersey. And I pull up in a Mario Kart in the middle of Tokyo, and I look to the right, and my friend pulls up, and she's just looking around. We're looking at the Tokyo Sky Tree, Japanese shrines, all these people here. And she looks at me and she goes, this is peak life. And so if there's one experience that's wild, it's go to Japan. It's an amazing country, insane, amazing quality. But go to Japan and do they call them monkey carts. It's basically like you get to play Mario Kart through Tokyo. And you can do it with a group. So we had a group of people that went. There was, I ran a mastermind with 53 entrepreneurs that came together for this trip. We went skiing in Japan and we went to Tokyo, but like 15 to 20 of us did this Mario Kart thing after. So we're literally ripping through Tokyo in go-karts through like the traffic and the craziness. It is like the coolest freaking experience you'll ever have. So that's one for sure. I'll throw in
and you got to get in a costume.
Yeah, they give you the costumes.
So who was your character?
So they used to do like actually Mario Kart, and you could dress like Mario, Luigi, but
I used to like Wario when I played.
You were Wario
when I was a kid, yeah.
You could eat a banana peel and toss it on the street. This one they have just like funny costumes. It's not actually Mario themed for I think probably some copyright issue, but that's a good one. The other one we already talked about. Anytime you can see like insane wildlife, go gorilla trekking in Uganda, like wow. Unbelievable.
So what is that exactly? You say gorilla trekking.
Yeah,
what
so a lot of people
mean?
think gorilla tracking. I'm like, no, I'm not hunting them.
Yeah.
So what happens is there's a limited number of passes that you can have for this, and it's in a small part of Uganda called Bwindi National Forest. So you fly into Entebbe, which is the capital. You take a couple hoppers, and then, dude, you're on like the crazy back bumpy African roads for a couple hours. So you're going in for this, and that's a crazy experience alone. I mean, we were driving for hours, and you'd see, these kids were just like these like young African children would just like hop out of the trees out of nowhere into the street. It was like the first time I've ever seen white people. It was like wild. So the whole experience is crazy. But you get there and then you get a pass, and these guides that are out there, they know how to like track footprints. And so you go trekking through the jungle, and they'll find a family of gorillas, and you just get to observe them in their natural habitat. But you can be like literally this close to 400-pound gorillas, like a family of them, and you just get to experience what that's like up close and in person, and it's surreal. And the guards do carry guns, not to shoot them, but to shoot a scare shot in case they charge anybody. Doesn't really happen.
Damn.
But it's a wild experience, man.
Damn.
They're fierce. So
That's insane.
yeah, it's
Have you done like a traditional safari out there too?
So I did like a mini safari.
Okay.
I didn't do the
How
full
many days was
experience. It was 2 days.
2 days?
2
Okay.
days, yeah. So it was like part water, part land.
I hear
really,
they're pretty
really epic.
luxurious.
They can be really, yeah, most of them are really nice. Like if you go there, they're usually not going to be very budget oriented. And for points and loyalty, this is really epic. So there's a couple different places to do safaris. South Africa being a big one. Kenya is also really big too. So there is now a property in, it's called, I think it's the JW Marriott Masai Mara in Kenya, and you can use points for that. And it covers everything, the stay and the actual like safari experience. Safaris aren't cheap. Like if you're going with 2 people for 10 days, safari could be like anywhere from $20,000 to $70,000
For 2 days?
No, sorry, 2 people. But if you're going for like 10 days or 2 weeks,
right?
it's not a cheap
So
thing.
10 to 20 grand per person.
All in, probably.
All in,
10 to 20 per person. Yeah,
Yeah,
probably. Yeah, just depends on where you're going. You know, there's different levels, but that property allows you to use points and get a lot of that stuff covered, which is really big. So that's in Kenya. There's other points properties and stuff too in South Africa, but it's it's a bucket lister for anybody.
Where would you, so like, let's say I'm going to go do 2 weeks this winter, South Africa. Obviously, I want to hit Cape Town for a little bit. I want to do probably like, I don't know if I would do 10 days. I'd probably say like a 5-day safari would be like
That's
perfect.
good. Yeah.
And then if you had to sprinkle in like another segment of that trip, what would you recommend in Africa?
So
Just to switch it up.
yeah, totally.
Something that's probably not safari
from,
like.
from California, South Africa is really freaking far, right?
Yeah.
So where you route and how you get there is important. Like I would probably do 2 to 3 days, maybe in either like if you're flying from San Diego to London, maybe do a couple days there and then hop down. That's what I did when I went to Africa.
Or maybe Dubai.
That was the next one I was gonna say. You could do the Middle East and do Dubai from there. Would be really good too.
So maybe I would do that.
That's what I was gonna
because I
suggest.
haven't been to Dubai.
Oh,
And then I probably have to stop at either London or Dubai. I'd rather stop in Dubai.
no, do Dubai. Do
Yeah.
Dubai because you're gonna get the Emirates experience for sure. We can help you plan that out.
And you go what, LA to Dubai nonstop
Yeah,
on
you
Emirates?
probably. So this is something called a positioning flight,
Okay.
which is where you're in San Diego, which is not a major hub for big international routes in most cases. So a positioning flight is where you'd hop from San Diego to another major hub, LA, San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, Denver, New York, and then you would take the main flight from there. So if you want to get a great points deal and save 10, 20 grand on flights, that's what you need to do. So you need to be able to be willing to take that little extra hop. When you do that, you're going to get a great deal to Dubai. And then Dubai to South Africa has a lot of connectivity too. So you do a 2 to 3 day stopover there. There's so much great business, a lot to see, but amazing entrepreneurs in Dubai too. And then go to South Africa from there. So that'd be the one I would suggest. And then you definitely don't need to go to Johannesburg in South Africa. I would probably skip over that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
That's
just do
what I've
Cape
heard.
Town and the safari.
I love it. Yeah, one of our setters on our team, she lives in Cape Town.
Oh, cool.
And so
Nice.
she's like, dude, come out. I'll show you all the local spots and all that. So that would
Awesome.
be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Amex Black Card, break this down.
Yeah, so the Amex Black Card is super overrated, which a lot of people hate to hear. We have so many clients that have it, and when I say that, their butts pucker because they're like, wait, I thought it was. So here's the thing. I'm going to be straight with you. The Amex Black Card is about a flex. That's what it's about. The perks and benefits, the points earnings, the actual return you get from it are very minimal compared to what you'd be getting if you use other cards. That said, some people want to be able to go to the country club or the dinner or the event and throw down the Black Card because they like the status symbol of what it represents. I'm not here to judge. But from a financial standpoint, it's actually not a very good decision. The fees are huge. It's like, I think 10 grand your first year and then 5,000 a year, something like that. It's really big up front. And they offer a concierge service, but they're not really that great. It's not like you're talking to like a really well-traveled individual. It's usually a Philippines-based rep who can just like handle the administrative part of a booking, which for most of those people, your assistant can do that anyway. So there's minimal benefits there. And then other cards will actually earn better and more, or not better points, but earn more points than the Black Card on most purchases. So for most people, the Black Card is not really a great fit. It's really just that status symbol that people want it for.
Yeah, I have a Black Card with Barclays, and that card's okay. I use it sometimes. I mostly use my Amex, but
that's a totally different. That Barclays one is totally different than the Amex.
It's
Black
different
Card.
than the
Yeah. Like I think they borrowed the marketing because the branding that everyone already has around Black Card from Amex. We're like, well, if we make
They
one,
just ripped
people
that.
probably just think it's on par, but it is completely different.
Completely different.
Yeah.
I don't even know anything about
It's
it.
just
What
it's
is
way
it?
less perks, way less. The fee is significantly less. The benefits are less. The earning structure is different. Barclays points are not the same as Amex points, so you can't do as much with Barclays points anyway. So that's not really. Yeah, that's a totally different thing.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So Chase just came out with a new Sapphire business card. Talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. So Chase just dropped probably one of the best business cards in
Brand
the
new.
game.
Brand new. Just
Brand
came
new.
out.
Just came out within the last couple of months. It's the Chase Sapphire Reserve for business. So in the credit card game, the Chase Sapphire Reserve personal card has been well known as one of the best cards, and they were really falling behind in the business category. And they just dropped the Chase Sapphire Reserve for business, which is a game changer. For people that spend a lot on ads or travel, it's really, really good because you're earning 3 points per dollar with no limit on those categories. So a lot of media buyers, marketers, people like that. It's a really good card for them. And then there's a lot of premium perks and things like that. And it comes with something called Points Boost, which really gets you a lot more value out of your points if you use them there. In a lot of cases, you still don't want to do that because there's better ways to get value by transferring them than by going directly to Chase. But that's a big lift too. So this is huge because to date, most business owners were using the Amex Business Platinum for just like general spend, which is not that great. And if they optimize it, they were probably going to the Business Gold, maybe Capital and Venture X, chasing Preferred. Now this card's in the repertoire and it's really changing the game for what business owners can earn and how they can even use some of the benefits.
And who's the perfect candidate for this card?
High spend business owner, definitely want to look at the Chase Sapphire Reserve.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
And they don't report to their personal credit,
That too.
which is big.
Yeah, and that one is.
I feel like if they report the personal credit, kind of defeats the purpose of having it.
Yeah, well, for depending on the business, some people like if you're paying off before the statement balance is due, or statement is closes, then you're not going to have any utilization report anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But for a lot of people that are running charges and they pay off before the payment due date, that utilization is going to report and it's going to impact your credit. So you're absolutely right. It just depends on how you're using the cards, though.
Yeah. So speaking of Chase, break down the way that you can utilize multiple Chase cards to get up to $250,000, up to $300,000 and 0% credit cards with Chase.
Yeah. So with Chase, I mean, you got to stack. They have some of the best. Part of the reason I love Chase for the 0% kind of funding game and stacking these is because you can actually earn good points from them too. A lot of the other 0% interest cards, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, things like that, they don't earn points that are very good. So it's rare that a bank gives the opportunity to kind of double dip on the funding side and getting high limits and 0% and then also use them for points. And Chase does. So the stack there is going to be the Chase Inc. Unlimited and the Chase Inc. Cash. Those are basically going to have the same points earning structure. They often market them as cash back cards, but in reality, they earn points. That's big. And those are going to be 0% for 12 months. The other play is whatever other limits you get within Chase, you can, depending if it's in the same business, you can transfer those limits into your new card. So let's say you've had two Chase business cards, maybe an Inc. Preferred and an Inc. Unlimited. You've had them for a while, and then you get a new Chase card, right? A new Chase Inc. Unlimited that will have 12 months at 0%. You could move the limit from those other two cards onto that. If you stack that all up over time, it kind of snowballs and that limit will build and you'll get into like really, really high amounts. I mean, I've seen people get into the low hundreds with Chase, but some people, I mean, I've heard, I haven't seen it. People are getting even more than that by doing this. What will happen though, it depends on how much you're spending, how much you're using the cards, if they'll continue to extend you that. Because if you're not spending a ton and then you're carrying high balances, they don't continue to extend that high of a limit. So it really depends. The other thing with Chase is, if you're a private client and you have a relationship manager, you can obviously push things through with them and they'll do the underwriting and talk to the underwriting team for you. So that can be a better way to get higher limits too. Having these key relationships is really good, but you need a business that's doing usually at least $1 million a year to do that. But if you're not doing $1 million a year, you probably don't need a $250,000 limit. That's kind of crazy. So
yeah. Okay, so what's a way that we can earn 10% cash back through credit cards?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Most cashback cards give you 2% back. When we work with people, we're getting them up to 10% back on every dollar they spend.
10%.
Up to 10%
That's
back.
insane.
It's insane. But here's the key. It's not cash back. It's in the form of travel. But when you measure the net, we call it return on spend. Cash back for if it's a 2% card, you spend $1 million, you get 2% back. That's $20,000 in savings. For us, you spend $1 million, you're getting $100,000 back. The difference is you want to use the right cards with the points. So on average, we help clients earn around 2 to 2.5 points for every dollar they spend. Okay. So you get the right cards, that's what they're earning. And then if someone out there uses them well, or like what we do, we redeemed almost 1 billion points over the last decade. A lot of points for people. We're getting on average around 4.5x the value.
The multiple.
Yeah. So
Got
one way
it.
of saying it is 4.5 cents per point or 4.5x. There's different ways to kind of say that. But so if you spend $1 and you earn 2.5 points, and then you get 4x the value, 2.5 times 4 is 10. That's 10% back versus a cash back card gets you 2%. So here's the thing.
And it's non-taxed.
And
factor in the tax.
Dude,
so maybe it's maybe a little bit above 10.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, points are tax free. So an example of this, I'll bring you back to that engagement trip that I did in December with my fiance. So this trip was going to cost 50 grand had I paid for it. Okay, so if I didn't know anything about points or any of this stuff, and I was the average business owner or investor out there, I'm going to take $50,000 out of my company, right? I'm going to pay $50,000 for the trip, and then let's say my tax rate is 25%. If I don't know Carl's and Dennis and all these tax strategists, right? I'm paying 25% maybe. So I'm paying $12,500 to the government in taxes just to get the 50K to take the trip. So the total effective cost is actually $62,500 for that trip. Now, if you use points, not only does the 50 grand get saved, but you don't have to pay taxes because there's no money being pulled out of your business or your investments. And so you're good. Like, you can just use the points and there's no tax involved. So it's a game changer. And that's also why people need to use their points for big personal trips first. Don't use them for going to a business conference because you can write that off. Use it for flying your mom to Europe with you on vacation, or your family or your girlfriend, or your own trip. Things you can't write off, that's where you need to use points first, because that's where you're going to get the tax benefit. And especially those international trips is where you're going to get the most savings. So that's always like, people always are like, when should I use my points? Save the business trips and write them off, earn points from those, use your points for your personal trips, and always prioritize the international ones first. So that's a really key thing. If people don't want to blow this, they need to do it that way. Otherwise, they blow all their points on a business flight, domestic for conferences or whatever. And then they have a big trip to Europe and they're like, well, I don't want to fly economy for 9 hours. Oh shit, now I have to drop 15 grand on flights just for that. And it's like, well, that was a huge waste when you could have just done it different.
Yeah, that's really good. And so break down this, because obviously this is another big play for people out there. It's like, not just knowing which points to use and which platforms, but also like knowing which aircraft type to book within the different airlines, because a big difference between a brand new Airbus 380 and maybe a 15, 20-year-old Airbus 330 in terms of the experience that you're going to get.
Yeah, man, picking the right aircraft on some of these international routes specifically is a massive difference maker. And sometimes it's the aircraft, and then sometimes it's the model of the aircraft. So I'll give you an example with Emirates, because we've talked about it a bunch. They have an A350, they have an A380, they have a 777. So the A380 is the double decker, right? That has the in-flight bar, that has the shower, all that stuff. So if you're flying Emirates and you are seeing Instagram reels cut from this podcast with the shower and the whole thing, and you get there and you show up and there's no shower, it's like, you're like, what the hell? I just did, I did this whole thing, it wasn't there. So especially for like a once in a lifetime experience like that, you want to get it right. So the A380 is the aircraft for that, but the alternative is a 777. Now with that though, in my opinion, the actual best first class seat in the world is Emirates first class on the new 777. So there's two versions of it. They have the old 777, which is like their kind of, standardized first class seat. But I just flew this one from Geneva to Dubai in May of this year. And this is an insane experience. It's a floor to ceiling enclosed suite. It is like the size of this room. It feels like an apartment. And the seat is like, it's actually a seat that was architected by, with NASA technology and designed by Mercedes-Benz. So it's a baller experience. But that's only on certain versions of the 777 aircraft. So even within that aircraft setup, sometimes there's an old version versus a new one. And if you don't get that right, you're going to end up in the experience that you don't know. Another huge one, for domestic travel is going to be the transcontinental travel, right? You're flying from San Diego to New York. You're flying from San Diego to Boston or whatever. Certain aircrafts are going to have lay flat seats and lay flat beds, which is really nice for a 5-6 hour flight, especially a red eye or just long transatlantic travel. And certain ones are going to be a recliner chair. And you want to know before you book which one you're getting, because that's going to be the quality, a huge difference in quality for you, and how rested you feel, how much you enjoy the experience. So that's big.
Do you prefer, let's just say you're flying business class, do you prefer sitting on the window side or in the middle?
If I'm flying business, it depends. You're saying like on a cabin where it's like a 2-2-2 kind of thing?
Yeah, because most of them it's like the windows will have one aisle, so one aisle on either window, and then the middle will be like two middle seats next to each other.
Yeah, it depends if I'm flying with my fiance or not. So if we're flying together, then I'll pick the middle where the two of us sit together.
So you can talk.
So we can talk, hang out, do our whole thing. And then if it's just me, I'll just pick the window.
Yeah.
Get in the view and the whole,
that makes sense.
The whole vibe. Yeah.
Okay, so easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, that's me.
So hands down, best airline for you is Emirates.
I'd say Emirates. Yeah, Emirates is across the board for me.
And what's your favorite all-time aircraft to fly on?
I think the new 777 that I was talking about is probably my favorite.
It's the best one. Okay.
Yeah, the A380, the shower and the bar. I mean, it's really tough, honestly, because that's such a cool experience. So actually, I'm gonna say the A380, and I think I mentioned this last time we were on, but part of the reason for that is it's so big and has so many seats. If you want to travel with a big crew, like I hosted a mastermind in Chamonix, France, a few years back. Like Jack and Carlton, a bunch of other entrepreneurs came. We had 40 people. 25 of us flew in that Emirates business class flight. So the seatbelt sign comes off on the flight. Like we all stand up, and then 25 of our homies just go to the back bar, and we're having like a cocktail party in the sky on the way to Europe. And so that's something that you can really only do on that aircraft. So that kind of gives it a slight edge for me. But beyond that, I'd say seat the 777 on the new Emirates.
So I was on the Qantas Airbus 380.
Yep.
And they didn't have what you're talking about. It's the whole top floor would be business class.
Yes.
And then the bottom was first class in the front, and then economy in the back. But I was in the top floor business, and they have like a little like lounge in the top floor front. You could sit down and grab a glass of wine or something like that. Maybe hang out. They have like a little like desk you could work at, but there was no like full service bar or anything like that. So, but on Emirates, it's the whole top floor front. It has a whole service bar.
Yeah, it's in the back, but it's a big
it's in the
area.
Back,
it's like the size of this room. I mean, it's like maybe 15 by 20.
Yeah.
It can fit like 20, 30 people. Qatar has another really good bar too. Theirs is really also very nice, very big. But yeah, like each airline's gonna fit the aircraft differently. So like the setup on Singapore Airlines, they also fly an A380. They have the Singapore suites, which is where there's two suites that will come together. They take the wall down, they turn it into a double bed in the air.
Damn.
So that would be the second Mile High Club play.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like people can see right in, so I wouldn't do that. But
what does something like that cost for a typical flight?
So
if you just want to pay retail.
Yeah, so that one they used to fly from New York to Frankfurt, Germany, actually. So I've flown that before on that route, and that flight is usually around like 10 grand a piece. And so if you're doing two people, that's 20K. But now they only fly that specific aircraft to in or out of Singapore. So you can't fly the A380 on Singapore unless you're going all the way there. So it just depends on where you're traveling, because you might be going from Singapore to Japan. It's less than if you're flying to somewhere like London maybe or something like that.
And people listening to this might say like, oh, at that point you're dropping 10, 20K for a flight. Why not just like run a private jet? But the private jet game, I mean, you're looking at, depending on the jet, small one might be, $8 grand an hour. The bigger ones you're looking at, $10,000-$15,000 an hour.
Sure.
And some of those flights are, you're talking international. It might be a 10, 12-hour flight.
Oh yeah.
Round trip, you're looking at 20 hours times 12,000. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot.
You know?
I mean, unless you have a big crew, then everyone's down to drop that. And you can't use points for a private jet. Unfortunately, there's no way to do that. So if you think about the points factor, it's like, do you pay $0 and get that experience, or do you pay $100,000 and get your own private jet? I mean, I guess there's a certain level of wealth where some people would just be like, I'll fly private. But for the vast majority of people out there, there's still a level of practicality to flying that they want to incorporate, and that's going to be a factor for them. I just went to Tony Robbins' UPW this weekend. He owns a 737, so he's in like a little different category, right? Dan Martell, I know he's got his own aircraft, so some people eventually just buy a plane. But even some of these, I know actually you'll enjoy this. My friend was the chief of staff for Barry Sternlicht, the founder of Starwood Group and W Hotels and One Hotel, guy who created the whole thing. So they were flying around the world opening One Hotel properties all over the world, and that was his last 2 years. I was talking about it. So there's certain aircrafts where like the distance doesn't even make sense because you have to stop and refuel so much. Like you might as well just fly commercial and go direct, and just fly first class. So it's really going to vary on the situation there.
Yeah. So last time you came on, we were talking about SetJet, and they've been out of business since. JSX is still around, and we're talking private jet, we're talking first class, business class on commercial flights. But it's like, well, what's in between? I think in between we got these services.
Right.
What would you call like
semi-private? Yeah.
So semi-private flying. So what is semi-private flying?
Semi-private flying is basically going to feel like basically what you said, an exact middle ground between the two. You can just pay for a ticket normally. You get to get all the benefits of the private experience where it's like less lines, smaller airport. You basically just come 15 minutes ahead, walk right on. It's usually a much smaller aircraft with less passengers and a little bit more of a luxury experience. But that's going to be the main difference. It's not like it's your own private entire aircraft to yourself, which is very different, right? So that's going to be like JSX, for example. And depending on where you live, that can be amazing because you might just be flying between, Vegas and parts of California a bunch, and that's your route. Fantastic. That's going to be a really good option for you. But for a lot of people that don't live on their routes, they're not as connected as a lot of the airlines. So now you might be doing 2 stops, and it's like, how much value is on your time? I'd rather just fly on a commercial airline and
100%,
and then do that. But
Yeah.
really depends on the travel you're doing.
Yeah, SetJet was interesting because it was, it was a share, and I think you paid about like $99 a month in the membership, and then for each leg that you wanted to fly, it was there's a cost to it. But like when I flew it one time round trip, and on the way back from Scottsdale, San Diego, we were the only people on the plane.
That's pretty cool.
Which is pretty cool. JSX I haven't flown, but that's a little bit more of a commercial vibe, right? Because they pack a lot more seats in there.
Yeah, it feels like a commercial cap.
Like
It
a small
basically almost
commercial
feels
plane.
like a domestic, like the seat feels like a domestic first class seat, but the whole aircraft is that, and there's just way less people. That's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a crazy luxury experience by any stretch.
And is that a
It was
membership
nice.
thing, JSX?
I don't think they do a membership. They might, but you can just go online and pay for them, and you can earn points from them. You can earn JetBlue miles, which is kind of cool, but you're not going to be able to redeem points for them.
Yeah. I got to go to Scottsdale this weekend. I got a property out there, but I haven't been in a while. But I'm going to go out to Scottsdale this weekend.
Cool.
So I got to get a flight. So I was thinking, okay, if I go JSX, I got to go up to Carlsbad
Yeah,
to go to Scottsdale.
sure.
If I go out of San Diego, it's closer because we live right next to the airport. But I got to go to Phoenix Airport and then commute from Phoenix to Scottsdale. So trade off either way. I got to commute either way. So I might do JSX. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe
you got
that's
to
the
budget
move.
in the time at the airport, the security lines, and all that
Yeah.
stuff is a little bit of a difference for sure.
Yeah. So we'll see. Eli, dude, I appreciate you coming on, man, dropping so much value, so much game. Where can folks get in touch with you if they want to learn more about all this content, but more importantly, if they want to learn more about your services?
Sure. Yeah, so Instagram is just Eli Travel Guy. That's going to be the main place I'm posting, sharing behind the scenes of how I'm booking, stuff we're doing with clients. And then our site is freedomtravelsystems.com. We can just do /summers, and we'll have some free bonuses for people. I have something called the CEO Points Playbook I put together. This is my entire playbook of how I've done this for myself the last 10 years, saving around $500,000 in travel in the last few years alone, how we've saved tens of millions of dollars for clients. So that playbook covers a lot of what we covered, but in a more structured and sequenced way. So that's a free gift. And then if they want to learn about concierge services, how to make it really easy to turn their points into luxury travel without all the hassle, trying to figure it out on their own, even if they have an assistant, then they can set up a time with our team to talk about what it would look like to get a concierge travel and points advisor.
I love it. Say the landing page one more time for the listeners.
freedomtravelsystems.com /summers.
There it is. And Eli, dude, next time, bro, I want to go out to one of these mastermind trips, man.
I
You
know,
said
dude. You gotta
Switzerland,
come on the
some of
next
these
one.
other
Yeah.
Japan.
We got one of
Let
them
me
on
know.
Europe this year.
Europe?
Yeah.
What city?
It's depends on when this pod drops. I can't say because it's a
Okay.
little bit of a surprise, but
Okay.
it's gonna be very James Bondy. Let's just put it that way.
I like
James
that, man.
Bond
Well, let me know. I'm interested. And always a good time catching up, dude.
Amen.
You the man. He's Eli Facenda, the travel guy. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.